All right, folks, we're back on the Way Concept presented by The Ring Magazine, and I have just woken up, as you can see, bed's not made, and I've learned the news that a bittersweet journey has come to an end. Vasiliy Lomachenko has retired from the sport of boxing, and we have to talk about it. The breakdown, let's go. Folks, before we get into the breakdown, I want to say a big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, DraftKings. That is right, DraftKings is the place to be for all of your sports betting needs. Whether it's UFC 316, Sean O'Malley versus Merab, who you pick there and why, or you want to bet on something like the NBA Finals, because this is your last chance as an NBA fan to let your expertise show. Will it be the Indiana Pacers or will it be the OKC Thunder? You have a chance to pick the winner or NBA player props, whatever you desire at DraftKings Sportsbook. Might I add, the official betting partner of the NBA. So the question is, Wade, how do I start? Well, simple answer. You use code WADE when you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And for new customers, you can bet $5 using code WADE. And if it wins, you get an additional $300. Once again, code WADE. Bet your first $5. You win, there's $300 waiting on. And that's in one place and one place only for your NBA, MMA, or any other sports betting needs. At DraftKings, the crown is yours. All right, so Vasiliy Lomachenko retires from the sport of boxing, and he adds this video along with it. Before we even get into what a legendary and storied career Lomachenko leaves behind and the legacy he leaves behind, let's take a look at his message. I guess his confirmed actual retirement.
I want to thank our Lord Jesus Christ for everything he has done for me, for guiding a prideful young man down a path that ultimately showed me that fame, legacy, and recognition are not the true purpose of life. I am grateful for every victory and every defeat, both in the ring and in a life. And of course, I wouldn't be remiss not to thank you, my dear boxing fans around the world. You have always supported me with passion and lived through unforgettable fights alongside me for over a decade. I hope you continue to love and respect this sport, just a passionality, because the men who step in a ring risk their health for the sake of their families. Peace to all.
There he is. And it's almost as quickly as he rocketed onto the scene, he was gone. No flash, no big retirement tour, no super formal press conference announcement, literally just sitting down in a chair and professing his faith to Jesus Christ and leaving. And for as quiet and even kill as he is when he's sitting in this video or when he was outside of the ring, inside of the ring, Lomachenko was one of the greatest styles of fighting you may ever see. And you know, I'm sure today will be a day where people take an opportunity to debate how good Lomachenko really was. Compared to maybe some of the push or some of, the early on comparisons that he drew. But regardless, if you think he's one of the greatest of all time, if you think that he is a good fighter or a great fighter, but nothing more, nothing less, if you think that his amateur record carries a lot of the water for how good Lomachenko really was, because I think he had won over 390 amateur fights or 380 amateur fights with one single loss, which is insane to think about. Obviously, the 2 gold medals that he won as an amateur and all the other accolades from world championships and everything else. He was, both as an amateur and then obviously in the pro game, a unique fighter. And what I mean when I say that is Lomachenko's style in itself was so unpredictable. The way that he was able to run circles around you while standing in front of you, to make you miss and make you pay without being out of range. He could be right in front of you and you wouldn't be able to see him. He was almost a matador at times. He would even show it to you in the ring. And while his pro record was 18-3 and he, on paper lost fights against Devin Haney, which has been disputed. The Devin Haney fight, did he win? Did he not? Who knows? That's up for interpretation from you guys, the fans, but also losing the Teofimo Lopez fight. I don't want to make today about like how great was he? Was he the best ever? Was he world class? Was he just good? Was he just below that? Like to me, and I'll just, we'll just say it here. I think Lomachenko was. He was world class. I think his style, again, how fluid he was in between offense and defense, how he could stand right in front of you and at the same time be out of range somehow. You couldn't touch him. He threw punches in bunches at times, and he also threw from different angles. It felt like he had more power sometimes in his lead hand than his backhand, and yet he was knocking people out clean at 125 pounds. And when he wasn't doing that, he was able to win big-time decisions. I mean, he won the WBO World Featherweight title. I know it was vacant, but he won it in his third fight. Absolutely schooled Rigondeaux, beat up Jorge Linares, ran through Jose Pedraza. It wasn't even competitive when he fought Luke Campbell. He had this ability to make good fighters to great fighters look average at times, right? I mean, he absolutely, completely, and utterly destroyed George Kambosos after Kambosos had his big-time win over Teofimo Lopez. And, you know, the one kind of glaring, not great performance from Lomachenko to me was the Teofimo Lopez fight. So you have to give Teofimo credit there. But Lomachenko had so much hype coming out of the amateurs that the question will always be asked, did he live up to it? And I guess, you know, in one sense, maybe not, just because, you know, he ends his career with not very many fights. But at 18-3, he did most of the things that you would want to do. He didn't become undisputed or didn't unify the belts, but he won world titles multiple times. He did win 2 gold medals. He did take on some tough competition and fought at the highest level. Do I wish that he would have fought the likes of Gervonta Tank Davis? Absolutely. I wish that that was a fight that we were sitting now and talking about happening last year, but it didn't. And that's unfortunate. But we did get to see him in high-level matchups versus Tio, versus Devin Haney. And I guess at the end of it all, I was always just a fan. I mean, that's where I leave it. I was always just a fan of his style. I was a fan of his approach, how he fought, how he treated fighting. And I guess just as a personal thing for me, how he conducted himself outside of it. Obviously, being Ukrainian, you know, there is a bit more of a humble sort of conservative lifestyle that I identify with a little more. But yeah, I don't know. There's really no words, because you thought, especially after how easily he dismantled George Kambosos, that this was going to be maybe the resurgence of Lomachenko. And it doesn't really surprise me, I don't guess, that he's retiring. You know, he's 37 years old. I guess maybe he's asking himself the question, if I can't fight Tank Davis, then what other fight is there for me out there? Rematching Devin Haney's out of the question because Haney's moved up. Rematching Teofimo's probably out of the question because Teofimo's moving up. If it's not Gervonta Davis at 135 pounds, what is the big fight still left there? But you saw what could happen when a guy was pushed and given the attention that, I think he deserved coming out of his amateur ranks and coming out of being such a high-level amateur. And I feel like sometimes, especially now, you know, in boxing, we have this issue with pushing guys early because of what can happen and because of potentially losing early on and potentially not having, you know, that signature win until you're 20-0. And historically, that's how guys have been, you know, built in the sport. That's how most guys' records tend to look. But Lomachenko, because he was such a decorated amateur, came out and was taking tough fights right away. He was a unicorn. He was unique. And I think that fighters, if they look at how they moved Lomachenko, if they have the experience coming out as amateurs, and if they are of that world-class level, they can look at his career and see a blueprint to potentially be different. A blueprint to not just spend your formative years racking up meaningless wins in fear of losing your O. Because there's one thing that Lomachenko didn't have fear of, and credit to Devin Haney and credit to, at that point, Teofimo Lopez, although we may have a video coming out very soon about Teofimo and why right now he's acting more like a mallard than a fighter. Yes, I think Teo is ducking Devin Haney right now, which is crazy to say, but Vasily never had that fear of losing. Right? He didn't have that fear of his legacy being tied to a 0 in the loss column. And I think that's, again, one of the bigger frustrations with the sport of boxing that I have right now is everybody being terrified of taking a loss. Because no one gets better by fighting people that aren't good. And one thing Lomachenko and his team knew early is that they needed to push him into the upper class of pro competition because they were going to be here for a good time, but not a long time. And that's, I think, the best way to describe Vasiliy Lomachenko's career. He was magnificent, almost magical as a fighter. He was willing to take on big-time challenges. He was one of the greatest offense-to-defense transition fighters I've ever seen. His IQ was insane. Again, his ability to make you miss and make you pay. He had power at 25, he had power at 30, and he had power at 135 pounds. That still kept you in check, while at the same time, he could put you in the matrix, he could make you quit, aka Lomachenko, or he could absolutely break you down and win a unanimous decision in quite dominant fashion that didn't leave a viewer thinking, wow, what another boring 12 rounds of point fighting. He was looking at all times to change the fight, to finish the fight, and if he didn't get that finish, he was going to make you feel it for the next however long. So the only thing I'll say left is congrats to Vasiliy Lomachenko on a fantastic career. I don't really know what's next for him. You know, this could be one of those situations where we don't hear from him for the next 2 years, 3 years, and he just pops up somewhere. It feels like, especially again on the Ukrainian side and the Eastern European side, when fighters retire, that's kind of it. You don't really see them out and about. And obviously, you know, the elephant in the room with the Ukraine and Russia situation, I'm sure that's got something to do with some of this, I assume. You know, having to serve actual military time and having to be involved in that conflict obviously is a tragic thing for everybody involved there. But yeah, I really don't know what happens next for Vasiliy Lomachenko. It's just kind of a shock, but not really. But all I can say is what a career, and thank you to Lomachenko for blessing boxing fans with his performances and his style and just his attitude and his willingness to be great. That's all I got. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments below. But now it is official, breaking news, maybe not by the time you see this, but Vasiliy Lomachenko has retired. I will call him a legend in the game because that's what I believe he is. What a fantastic career, and what happens next for him, I don't have those answers, but I guess we'll find out.